Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games. I am Harry, and before we go any further, please make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe to our channel if you're interested in some more board game related content. Today we have another edition of What I Have Played This Week. So this was a pretty good week for me, I have to say, and lots of good games got to the table. And as usual, I'll start first with the games I played with my wife Lily this week. For some reason or another, it was a pretty light week. We only got 2 games to the table this week. We played the classic Reiner Knizia abstract strategy game of Ingenious, which has always had a very special place, especially in my wife's heart. It was a game that we played a lot right around the time that my second child, my daughter Michaela, was born. So there's these fond memories there for Lily in particular. As for me, I am not as fond of the game. I appreciate the fact that she likes it so much. I think it's okay. I think it's good for an abstract game. Abstract strategy games for me, for whatever reason, just don't tend to rank as high as some other styles of games. But it's a fun game. It's a simple game, and it has a very creative scoring mechanism that Reiner Knizia, the designer of this game, has implemented in other games. As a matter of fact, he borrowed this mechanism from another game of his, in which you're scoring for different sets of colors, and the color in which you score the least amount is your final score of the game. So even if you do amazing in some of these other sets of colors, if you do terrible in one color, you lose the game. So you kind of are forced and compelled to build evenly across. So that was ingenious. And the other game we played, a light Yahtzee style game of Roll Through the Ages. Roll Through the Ages, as I mentioned, it's a Yahtzee style game where you're rolling a set of dice and you're re-rolling. You get up to 2 additional re-rolls, and finally you have to settle for what you have on that third re-roll. This is a civilization themed game, but it's very abstracted. As a matter of fact, the game components consist of a antiquated wooden pegboard where you're accounting for your resources, whether it be food or stone or all these other things, wood, and a pen and paper pad where you're just circling things, circling words and numbers and checking off boxes for positive points and negative points, representing buildings that you're constructing and disasters that you're enduring. Very, very, very abstracted, but at the same time, it's fun. It's analytical, and you have that challenge of growing your civilization, albeit in a very abstracted way. Simple game, lighthearted game, and pretty easy to teach. And it also has a solo mode for those who are interested in playing solo. So those were the games that I played with my wife Lily this week. I also had a few solo gaming experiences this week. I played Carson City, the card game. Carson City is a Carson City, the card game, is a card version of a bigger game known as Carson City, right? Or Carson City, the board game. This is a Wild West themed game where you are building your part of Carson City, which consists of different buildings and different, terrains and different things that score you different points based on where they're at in your city, where they are in your grid, what other buildings they might be adjacent to. There's some special characters that give you special abilities that score you in different ways. I like this game. It's first of all, the solo mode is very competent, because what it has a group of dummy players, right? Some games, the solo mode, it's really solitaire-ish, and you're just playing by yourself, and you're just trying to accomplish a high score and beat and outdo your previous high scores. In this game, you have artificial intelligence as opponents, but unlike many games that do have an AI, instead of just having one dummy player, you actually have 3 dummy players, right? Because the way the rules go is that this game requires a minimum of 4 players. No matter how many human players there must be a total of 4 players. So even if you're playing a 3-player game, it's mandatory to have that 4th AI or dummy player. So if you play solo, then you need 3 dummy players. And you do have the option of adding more dummy players if you want to really decrease your chances of winning the game. And there's a lot of other ways of modifying the difficulty, which is really, really cool. I've only played so far on the easiest mode, and I think I've won one time just barely, and I've lost a couple other times. I don't think I finished last place yet. So, but it's a fun game. It's a challenge. You have this imaginary 8x8 grid that you're working with, kind of similar to King Domino, where you have a limitation. This imaginary grid within your head. You're looking at the space, and as you're making your decisions, you're factoring in that you're going to make some decisions that will permanently cut you off in one direction or the other. However, there's a little bit more flexibility than King Domino, because you could actually put cards on top of previously played cards as long as the symbols underneath them match perfectly or identically with the card that's being placed over. So you can overlap cards, halfway, because each card consists of a grid of 4 different spaces with 4 different features there, whether it's a building or a terrain like a mountain, or people like outlaws, which are negative points for you, or even just an empty space represents something. It represents a feature. Empty space is a feature in this game. So yeah, it's really, really cool, and just try to maximize your points. But also what's interesting is every turn you're doing a kind of like a bid for turn order, because turn order is very important, because sometimes you really want to get something. But how you bid is kind of like a trick-taking game. So it's like a game within a game. You have a hand of 9 cards ranging from 1 through 9, and you all have different suits. So you have your own suit that's individual to you as a player, and each of the other players, whether it's dummy players or human players, have their own individual suits. And you're playing these cards from 1 through 9 face down and revealing them all at the same time, seeing who has the highest number, kind of like a trick-taking game. And whoever has the highest number gets the first order and the second, and so on and so forth. But what's interesting is you have your character cards, and the top of the character deck always has a different ranking of the different suits, so that based on what's the top card in the character deck, you're gonna know who's the tiebreaker, right? Just in case you both bid the same number, a 9 and 8, you know who goes first due to that tiebreaker. Really, really cool, neat system of turn taking that makes it crucial each turn to know when you really want to go for that first or second spot, right? Because you might be going for that first or second spot and probably investing too much into that, and you might not get it, and not only risk losing getting it that turn, but also in a subsequent turn, have a little bit of a depleted hand of cards. It has 2 eras of gameplay, and each era consists of 9 rounds. And the first era is kind of just like build up, where you're building small little buildings, and then in the second era you're acquiring more and more powerful buildings. I'm giving a very thorough description of this game when you guys probably are not interested in hearing it, just knowing what I played this week. But no, yeah, it was a fun game. It had a very good impression on me. It's been the first couple plays, and I've enjoyed it. Also this week I played Tiny Epic Westerns, another Wild West themed game that consists mostly of card play, but it also has a little bit of worker placement. I've always enjoyed worker placement. Worker placement, I'd say, is one of my favorite mechanisms. And this game, I also played it solo. I think it has a very neat solo mode. I think from my experience with the Tiny Epic series tend to play pretty well solo. And Tiny Epic Westerns is definitely it. I love the Wild West theme. It's something that interests me. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to plan a Wild West themed game night for next weekend with my nephews. So I will have some updates and follow-ups hopefully next week, letting you know how those games went. And Tiny Epic Westerns is definitely one of the games that I plan on being in the lineup. Again, with the Tiny Epic series, it's games that consist of a small package, small pieces, small components, but at the same time have a bit of a table presence and definitely have some meat to it. They're not necessarily filler games. They don't necessarily finish within 30 minutes or so. They have a full experience, but at the same time, they're very compact. They're very transportable, right? Very portable, so you could take them with you from place to place easily. You could pack a couple of Tiny Epic games and not even be burdened with the weight of them all. So Tiny Epic Westerns, fun game, and that was my 2 solo games for this week. I did play Carson City, the card game, twice this week, just to clarifying that. And then the bread and butter of my week this week really was playing with my nephews. I was able to see my nephews 3 times this week, which doesn't always happen, but it happened this week. And we played a lot of games. I have 14 plays this week just from the games that I played with my nephews. So here are some of the games we played. We played 7 Wonders with everything but the kitchen sink. We played with the Cities expansion, with the Leaders expansion. We had the Wonder Packs out. Some of the new Wonders were out. We played with the Babel expansion, and we just had a blast. It was really, really fun. 7 Wonders is definitely a family favorite for us. I think pretty much all of us who play really, really like this game a lot. For those who have watched my top 50 games of all time, which have finished, please check it out on this channel. Subscribe and give it a view. Anybody who's watched the series of videos knows that 7 Wonders is a very highly rated game in my opinion. And again, we just had a really good time playing. We also played Catan, and Catan is a game we've been playing for a long time, and we played it with an expansion. For the first time, we played it with the Cities and Knights expansion. And I have to say that so far, Cities and Knights did not give me a good first impression. I'm not gonna lie, I did pretty poorly in the game. Myself and my niece, I think we were distant third and fourth to my 2 older nephews who were competing for first and second. I could see some of the, nuances of the expansion appealing to some people. It definitely adds a few different things to consider, a few different approaches to take. It definitely adds some length to the game, which was the biggest problem. As a matter of fact, I don't even think we finished the game. I think we made a time limit cutoff, and whoever was winning at that point was going to win, and we pretty much all agreed on that because it was taking long. I think it was about a 2-hour experience, and I think it could have easily gone at least another half an hour. And we were ready to go. We pretty much knew who was going to win at that point, so we were fine moving on. But I want to give it another try. Don't want to give up on the expansion too quickly, but just to let you know, my first impression was not very positive. We also played Winner's Circle, which is a horse racing themed game by Dr. Rainer Knizia. Light game, simple game where everybody's betting on different horses. So you have 3 bets that you can make, and 2 of your bets just count as single bets, and 1 of your bets counts as a double bet. And you're trying to get your horses to be either first, second, or third. So the higher they are ranked in the race, the more points you're going to get back, or the more money you're going to win back for those bets. However, how many bets people place on them can dilute the amount of money and points you make at the end of the game, because certain horses might look like odds-on favorites based on their different features, because basically every horse is different. You have 7 different horses, and on the card, on the face of the card, what you'll see 4 different images representing how much the horses will move when a different side of the die is rolled, because you're rolling a die to determine how the horses advance. And there are 4 symbols. It's a 6-sided die, but there are 4 symbols on that die. One of the symbols is repeated 3 times, so it has a 50% chance of being rolled. And basically, you're calculating odds based on how much they move on each symbol and how many faces of the die have said symbol. You're determining which horse you think has the best chances of winning. And usually people pile up on some horses and agree that horse looks like a strong contender because of the symbols on his cards and what they represent. And sometimes that horse has lots of bets, which again is going to dilute how much points the winner will score at the end of the game. But you want to get a couple of your horses to cross the finish line first, right? You want to get hopefully at least 2 of your horses to finish in the top 3 of the race to give yourself a pretty good chance of winning, right? And it's a fun game. It's a silly game. It's a quick game. It has that exciting feel of the race, because sometimes even though the game is not that close as far as the outcome is concerned, as far as who wins the game among the players, the race in and of itself always feels very cool, very exciting, very tense. And it's always, there's 7 horses. It always feels like at least 5 of those horses have a legitimate chance of winning that race. And sometimes even 6 or 7 of them are really contending for the winning of the race, or at least for those top 3 spots. Fun game, good design, quick game, very easy to learn, very easy to teach. And if you like racing games, it's a good game to try. We played Dominion this week, 4 times. And I want to clarify a few things. Well, first of all, Dominion is one of our family favorite games. We've been playing it for several years now, and we've played it tons of times, and we have a blast playing with it. There's so much variety, so much different content, so much different cards that, first of all, it's hard for us to get bored by it. But I do want to clarify that we did not play all 4 of those games on the same day, right? We spread those games apart on 2 different days, but it has been fun playing that game. And I, as I've mentioned in my top ranking games, I enjoy deck builders, and there's just something about Dominion. It's light, it's quick, it doesn't take a lot of time, and at the same time just gives us that feel of a very fulfilling experience, right? So that was Dominion, and we played 4 times. Then we played Sheriff of Nottingham, and Sheriff of Nottingham is a great bluffing game. I mean, again, it consists of at its core, it's just a simple set collection game where you're trying to collect different sets of goods. You have apples, and you have cheese, and you have bread, and you have chicken, but you're trying to also occasionally maybe, get some contraband, some illegal goods, and sneak them past the sheriff. And each turn, a different player takes a turn being the sheriff. And you kind of have to bluff your way, convince your sheriff. You put your cards in a bag, and you lock it up, and you close it up, and you kind of convince the sheriff that you're only bringing 4 chicken, which is okay. It's a legal move. But perhaps you're not. Perhaps you're bringing some contraband, or perhaps you're mixing your chicken with some other legal goods, which in and of itself is an illegal move. I don't know why. You can't combine or mix different goods. But for whatever reason, you could only present one type of good. You might be lying that you have just one type of good, and you might be even trying to sneak some contraband. We also played with the Royal Goods variant from the base game that adds, some contraband that helps in even the basic set collection of the regular goods, but also gives you some additional points for sneaking in that contraband. But we also played with the Black Market module from the Merry Men expansion. And the way the Black Market module works is it kind of incentivizes you. It motivates you to lie, to sneak illegal contraband, because you get rewarded for getting these contraband exponentially. So if you would have made, let's say, 25 points or coins, your money is your points. If you would have made 25 points by sneaking in a couple contraband cards, well, now you turn in those contraband cards for one of these black market cards because you got 3 of a kind, and now all of a sudden they make you like 35 points. So you get to score even more points than you would have otherwise. It kind of motivates you. It also makes you, as the sheriff, be on edge, because you know that there's a greater likelihood that people are lying to you. And I will say this, on my last turn, I made a very sneaky move where I got 3 contraband of the same type past the sheriff. I scored 32 points. Well, actually, yeah, 32 points in one shot. And even so, I still came in last place. That was so sad. There was a time where I couldn't even lose at this game, and now I was last place. But it was fun. It's a great game, silly game. If you like bluffing, if you like calling people's bluffs out, if you like making people sweat, if you like sweating yourself, great game. Lots of laughs, lots of thought put into it. Even just your poker face, your long-term game plan, who you're gonna choose to lie to. All those make for very interesting and fun decisions. We also played Marvel Legendary, and we played it cooperatively. We played with Kingpin as the mastermind, and I think it's Crime Wave as the scheme. Fun Marvel-themed deck-building game. We lost, right? We lost to Evil. We lost to the mastermind. We just could not hold back the scheme, and the scheme just overwhelmed us eventually. It felt like a competitive game for the first half or so, but eventually the scheme got the better of us and we lost the game. But it's a fun game, deck building again, something that we enjoy, a family favorite. We've had a good time playing it over the years. And we also played Kingdom Builder by Donald X. Vaccarino, same designer as Dominion. So we played both of his games this week. And Kingdom Builder, just like Dominion, very different game. You're not doing deck building. Instead, you're placing down settlements in clusters. and you're placing them over different terrains. You have cards that you play, and well, you only play one card at a time. You only draw one card at a time, and those cards have specific terrain types. There's different terrain types that the board consists of. The board is made up of 4 modular boards that you put together to construct one large board, and you're trying to score. What's interesting about this game is you have these kingdom cards, and the kingdom cards are basically these random cards that represent different ways of scoring. So again, just like Dominion has lots of variety, this game has lots of variety because first of all, you have a modular board that's always going to consist of a different configuration of these terrains, but also you're always going to have 3 different types of these kingdom cards, and these kingdom cards are the scoring conditions, right? They tell you how you're going to score in this particular game. So it keeps you from trying to pigeonhole into one particular type of strategy or getting into a comfort zone because you tried something out, it worked flawlessly, and now you think you could just, be complacent and keep on repeating the same thing, right? Rinse, wash, and repeat. No, you constantly have to adjust your game, modify your tactics, because from game to game, the way you're going to score, the way you're going to optimize your turns is going to be different. I will say this, I was much more successful at this game than Sheriff of Nottingham, and yeah, I did win this one. But it's a fun game. You have this very particular rule about adjacency, right? Because when you place your settlements down, if you can place it adjacent to a group of settlements or some settlements you have on the board, you must place them. So you're caught with some very tense situations where you want to make good choices when you do have a choice, because yes, there will be many times in this game where you don't have a choice, and that frustrates lots of people. But I feel like that's where the tension lies. The tension lies in, hey, I actually have a choice this turn. Well, let me think this through, because if not, on my next turn, I might be obligated to do that, and I don't want to be, right? So you kind of have to think long term and think ahead, be ahead of the curve in order to prevent those very frustrating situations. Up to now, it's been a very enjoyable game for me and my nephews, and we've had a really good time playing Kingdom Builder. We also played Memoir 44, a World War II themed game. Played it just with my nephew David. Only one of my nephews was available for that game. We had my niece Caitlin basically be our official roller for all the battles that took out in the outer flanks. Fun game, consists of hand management. You have a hand of cards that basically tell you where you can give commands on which section of the boards, but then after that you have to roll a certain amount of dice depending on what's the unit that you're attacking with, what range they have, and also you're trying to roll certain sides of the die which match the unit of the opposing team that you're trying to hit or you're trying to kill. Fun game, lots of different scenarios. They're all historically based. They give a little excerpt of historical data of what happened, the date it took place, the location where it took place, some of the historical background as to what was going on, and some insights on who won and what strategies were influential to the outcome of those battles that actually took place historically. Each game has a different setup, different terrains that represent the topography of the land where the battlefield was at, and different setups for the different players to represent historically a more or less an idea of what units might have been involved in these battles and who might have had the tactical advantage for that particular battle. So again, fun game. We had a blast playing it. We also played Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter, we love this game. It's a science fiction negotiating game where you're doing lots of politics and you're trying to spread your influence throughout the galaxy by establishing colonies in foreign systems of planets, and you're doing this by engaging in battle with your fellow intergalactic races, and sometimes you're trying to be more diplomatic about things and engage in negotiation. Sometimes you're betraying your potential allies or your would-be allies. Lots of different fun social interaction in this game, coupled with a very neat card-driven combat system. And also variable player powers. Everybody has a different race that makes them absolutely different than the other person. Ways that they could bend and tweak and break the rules of the game to their advantage. Fun game. It was a blast. I think I won with, because you could win this game with more than one person. I won with my wife and my nephew David, which I don't think that trio of players has ever won in our history of playing Cosmic Encounter. In almost 3 years of playing this game, I don't think us three have ever won that game. So that itself was a memorable occasion. And finally, the last game I played with my nephews, and the last game I'm reporting for this week, was Carcassonne. Good old Carcassonne, gateway game. You know, one of our earlier gaming experiences. I've been playing this for many, many years. I think the first time I played Carcassonne was about 5 years ago, so long time. Simple game, easy to teach, but at the same time, it can get deep, you know, and does provide for some very interesting decision-making processes throughout the game. Just the idea of where do I place my tile, because you're trying to place your tile in a way that matches the landscape that you're creating, because you're basically creating the landscape of the game. You're creating the board as you play, and if you cannot continue the landscape, if you discontinue it or interrupt the landscape by putting your tile in a place that doesn't match the tile that is adjacent to it, that's not a legal move. So first of all, you got to figure out where you put it, and then after that, you have to make the decision of whether or not you're going to place a meeple on it as a special type of worker that scores you according to whatever feature that tile represents. However, you only have a limited supply of meeples. You have 7 meeples, and you can never pick those meeples up until you complete those features. So you got that tense decision of, do I want to place it on this feature? Because I might have a better feature coming up in the future, and if I don't have any meeples in my supply, then I'm limited and I can't do anything, right? Very simple game again, but again, it does create for some great, interesting decision-making opportunities. We had a blast playing this game. Again, a family favorite. And I've always said we're a Carcassonne family, have tons of expansions, tons of spin-offs, and we've always had great experiences playing this game. And that's it. Those were my games for this week. That was 18 different plays. I cannot complain. I am a very lucky and blessed human being. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time just to hear what I played this week. Please comment down below and tell me what you played this week. I'm always interested in seeing what other people are playing and how often other people are playing, right? Are you playing more often than me? Are you playing less often than me? I don't know. I'd love to hear. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit the like button down below. Please subscribe if you're interested in some more board game related content. This is Harry from When Harry Met Board Games, signing off. See you next time. Oh, by the way, big announcement. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we will be having my wife's top 25 through 21 games. We're going to start this series of her top 25 games. This Tuesday, we're going to start with 25 to 21. Hopefully this Thursday, we'll be doing games 20 through 15. So if you're interested in seeing how her tastes might align with mine, how her tastes might differ with mine, where we agree, where we disagree, where we butt heads, catch that video tomorrow. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye.